Vlad Fisun is a music critic with 20 years of experience in press, radio and TV. He's also a DJ with 20 years of experience, including performances at Ukrainian and international festivals.
Здравствуйте, вы смотрите шоу «Тюнер» об актуальной украинской музыке. Меня зовут Влад Фисун, и у нас в гостях группа Yuko.
Серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой, бою. А заинька серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой. А заинька серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой, бою. Заинька серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой, бою. Не топай ногой, я буду с тобой, бой. Буду с тобой, бой, твоей женой, а еще с Иваном, под белым кафтаном, таном. Еще с Иваном, под белым кафтаном, таном. А еще с Лешей, под шубой хорошей. Заинька серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой, бой. Ходи по синям, под шубой хорошей. А еще с Иваном, а еще с Алешей. А заинька серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой. Заинька серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой. Заинька серый, не ходи по синям, топай ногой, я буду с тобой. Заинька серый, не ходи по синям, не топай ногой, я буду с тобой. Не ходи по синям, я буду с тобой. Не ходи по синям, я буду с тобой.
Когда я слушаю песни группы Yuko, мне кажется, что...
When I listen to the songs of the Yuko band, it seems to me that they need to be given an explanatory dictionary, because if the music is very understandable for the young people, it is new, relevant and is totally in tune with the words. I wouldn't say that they are archaic, it's just that many of them are generally unknown. So how do you deal with this? Where do these lyrics come from? What are these strange stories about Zayka? Who is this Zayka? And where does this all originate?
История о Зайке, кто этот Зайка и откуда вообще все это появилось?
Well, we did not take only lyrical songs. For example, the song Zainka is from the village of Pilipi in Zhytomyr Oblast. It was recorded by Ivan Sinelnikov and performed by his grandmother, Stepanida Ivanivna, better known as Stopachka. She was from the Old Faith, and this was a round marching song accompanied by a choir as a tribute to spring. To this day, it is called a tune of the tongue. Oh, it's not a song. It is actually called a dance of the tongue. Stas called it a song, but it's not a song in fact. That is why it remains in my head. This is truly a dance to the tongue. The song is performed in a recitative manner, so it works as a tune to which one can easily dance.
Это танец под язык, то есть она исполняется в речитативной манере, под которую потом уже идут.
Well, it's practically rap, national Ukrainian rap.
Народный украинский рэп.
Украинский народный.
Ukrainian national rap. That sounds funny.
Ну, карагодный, да.
Ну, просто если говорить о рэпе, то...
Speaking about rap, this was always the prerogative of Americans. Let's say, the famous singer Nat King Cole argued that he was the first rapper in history, and it turned out that...
Казалось, что да, что...
Ukrainians look like dames in the spring, and this song is about the polygamy of young people. Those are the girls who say to their beloved that they belong to them and say to others that they want to spend time with them as well.
Серый ты мой. Но не ходи по сеням, не топай ты ногой.
And there are still words that we did not use in the song because that would be overdoing it.
Лёшей под шубой хорошей. И там есть еще слова, которые мы не взяли песню.
Это получается с языческих?
Turned out that these songs are from pagan times.
Oh, sure. It's all very archaic and now it's come down to us.
And that Ukrainian rap is dated back to even before the times of the adoption of Christianity.
The third song, which we will perform today, is also pagan.
What will we hear today? What exactly is the Yuko project? Where did it come from? When I look at what you are doing and listen to what you are doing, I sometimes get the feeling that I'm in a studio session, and sometimes I sense that a girl with rich experience in folklore studies simply comes up to a young man with rich experience in studying the possibilities of modern musical instruments. And together they start coming up with new creative ideas. In other words, they simply shoot from the hip or improvise. So the idea is to put these words to this melody until a ready tune or some lines are created. On the other hand, perhaps this is all a rather sophisticated idea, and not everything happens as spontaneously as it may seem.
Vlad, is it even more spontaneous than you think? Although I very much liked what you said about the experience of studying musical instruments. And as for the research of Ukrainian folklore, we're simply learning together. Everything in general is done spontaneously. Practically, there is not one song that was deliberately created. We just come together and say, well, let's play. Then we listen to the recorder, and this is how the song appears. We think that this piece is cool and this one is also groovy. Then we combine them and we end up with a bona fide song, and then we simply fine-tune it until it reaches perfection. Yulia has this amazing quality and knack for thinking up a song at the spur of a moment or recalling one of them in her huge portfolio that is the most suitable for this genre of music and perfectly fits the mood and atmosphere of the sound. Do you remember how we did Zainka? Stas is playing, we dance, and we think that it could turn out to be cool if we add a smidgen of tra-la-la. Then the text comes up and the song turns out. Basically, an idea comes to mind and it's formed over for such a short period of time.
It's just some kind of filing cabinet of Ukrainian folklore. Where did they get the experience in general? How did this happen?
I am a student. I'm still studying, but this year I will graduate.
I think it is so unfortunate for the teachers who will have to bid farewell to such a talented listener.
I will come to visit and I will definitely take some new material as inspiration.
You mean to say the material that you collected over those 5 years wasn't enough?
In fact, there is so much material that we don't know which to choose from. All the more, we try not to choose trivial Ukrainian folk songs like Nese Haля Vodu or Ty Menе Підманула. We try to pick something archaic, something yet unexplored. There is plenty of material. There are songs that still have not been deciphered. They were originally recorded on reels, on cassettes, and even on old-fashioned punch cards. In short, there is plenty of material to work with. All these ideas and thoughts should be conveyed to people. This is precisely what is interesting and relevant.
Поэтому материала еще искать, не переискать, использовать, не переиспользовать. И это надо довести народу. Это на самом деле интересно и актуально.
Еще народу нужно донести, что...
More people need to be told that they should come up with their own local pieces. I, for the first time in my personal history of composing my own music, showed a half-ready piece to Yulia. I thought she wouldn't like it. There were a lot of beats and a complex harmonic structure, and Yulia came up with the vocal part, and it turned out so good and catchy that I keep on singing it. Now I'm interested. If I bring you the harmonious structure of 25 bars, would you handle it or not? I'm curious and overjoyed by this.
To what extent do the notes remain in those songs that were historically composed?
Сложились тогда, исторически.
Ну, давай скажем, 25. Если брать все песни в общем, то от...
Well, let's say 25%. If you take all the songs overall, then 25% of them are taken from the original source. Basically, we take the song and completely recreate it anew. We use only text and quite selectively. For example, there are 10 couplets in Zainka, but we took only the first 4 or 5.
Нет. Ну, где-то 4-5 между здесь.
The arithmetics are done as follows. We take 4 or 5 or 25%, and we do this with Swiss precision.
Изменяем, берем основной...
We change it a lot. We use the main message which we want to convey, and all that remains is for those who want more specifics and who like to dig deeper. You can find it if you want, or simply ask us to provide you with the originals. And we, with great pleasure, can provide all the materials and sing the originals.
Предоставить все материалы.
Если вернуться к тому, с чего мы начали...
Let us go back to where we started. To be sure, many of the words in these songs are not clear, and much of the meaning is unclear. How does one deal with this?
У нас в группах мы частенько выкладываем после каждого...
For example, after each release, we post the lyrics without interpretation. So this means that all the words that were used in the song and recorded in a particular dialect can be found in the decoded version. But this is dubbed with the material that we're executing, meaning it is not from the original. And that, in turn, means that there might be a difficulty in finding certain songs. Some can still be found on the internet, and there are some that only we can share with the fans.
В интернете, а некоторые есть только у нас.
Are there cases when people guess the meaning of these songs, or more often they do not guess?
More often they offer very interesting options. Pasha, let's say, is incredible. Do you remember Pasha? When he was working with us, he just made up crazy and extremely fun and comical variants for all songs.
Is this your clip maker?
Знакомый режиссер, да, снимал нам лайв.
He is a director we know. He filmed the live broadcast and has a single title, Masha. He came up with the magic words, Graz Orbita, Kudri Vitra. Our reaction was, wow, not that, dude. It became a new song. So he sat up all night before making the video and was listening to us. He listened to all of the songs. He came up with his own text, his own meaning, and knew then what kind of video he was going to shoot. We came and saw right away that it was a completely different text. So that's the way it was.
Как мы снимем вас вот так, кудри витра, глаз орбита. И мы пришли, нет, это совсем другой текст.
And what words are there in the original?
Глаза бита,
Kudri Vita, bruised eyes, tangled curls, all turned out to be much simpler. And yes, I keep singing some of the lines. After all, they're very catchy. Stas comes up with his own text shooting from the hip. Masha probably already has 2 versions. We're also interested when people send their own versions of songs. It is simply quite intriguing. Basically, it is interesting when something that we created ends up in the songs. If anything, ask and we will gladly answer.
And do people sing along at concerts?
Подпевают, особенно трек «Люлька».
Yes, they sing along, especially the track called Lulka, which we will show today. It is strange. How can one sing along? It is only a recitative form. It is recitative, but shouting from the auditorium is lots of fun and very convenient. People get a great feeling from singing the words "My dear hemp pipe." The crowd often sings along "Pam Pam," so these kinds of things are just conceived at the spur of the moment. Vocal hooks, great song titles, "Ram Pam Pam." These things are catchy and become indelibly stamped in one's mind. We notice that people who listen to our jams or come to our rehearsals keep on singing such short things and go absolutely crazy.
И вот такие коротенькие штучки,
Бесятся.
они поют и бесятся.
Потому что
да.
поют, не могут
Рам-пам-пам,
остановиться.
рам-пам-пам.
I want our listeners and viewers to get the thrill of watching, listening, and singing along in unison. Let's have a listen to something else from your repertoire.
Батюшка сохнет, я в бару воду беру, я в бару воду беру, воду беру, воду беру, воду беру.
You are watching the show Tuna on UATV. My name is Vlad Fisun. Today our guests are the members of the young Ukrainian band Yuko. It is a duet that explores Ukrainian folklore, and then they turn it into something very modern. And I would say that the sources are very unusual, not trivial for sure, and the result is also quite unique. I think such a result can easily make people talk about you, and not only in Kiev, but also beyond the limits of the nation's capital, because you sound totally in the mainstream. What you are doing is interesting. Above all, it is an unusual combination. I think it might be interesting even for those who do not understand these words completely, or can only guess about their meaning. For them, this music is probably acceptable, if, of course, they have some semblance of taste, and perhaps if they have a good understanding of what you are offering them.
Для них эта музыка, наверное, приемлема, если у них есть хороший вкус, и, может быть, есть какое-то, не знаю, ощущение,
Optimism, good vocals, and enticing melodies. These are certain components that don't require any serious brainwork to understand, but they need the heart to feel them without actually needing an explanation of what is going on. You most likely just want to delve into the music, be totally immersed in it, and be able to ride on its huge dreamy wave of total ecstasy.
По этому очень большому массиву, который получается.
И вот как раз вот эта песня «Воду беру», которую мы сейчас исполнили.
And exactly this song, Vodu Buru, that we have just performed, was created while we were floating in a certain mood. It is the village Vereshchaki in the Novozhibtovsky district, Bryansk Oblast. And it turned out that we were totally exhausted from our extensive rehearsals together with Stas.
Очень сильно устали.
Have any of you been in this village?
No, we haven't been in this village.
Is it also from the archive?
Из архивов, да.
This song, well, I like it very much in the original, which sounds completely different than this rendition.
Совершенно по-другому звучит. Там
The Belarusian component, Bureau, can be deeply felt in this composition.
Vodu Buru, yes, there is simply a crazy range of performance in this composition, and it has such sharp scanters and upsurges. We rehearsed and there was such a somber melody that we just wanted to part. We have already had a rap session. As always, Stas found some sounds and started playing.
Да, я уже сижу такая.
I was just taking a breather and suddenly we have a song. Something is happening. I start humming and then the text comes to mind. Sometimes I like songs that are special for me. By the way, as far as I can remember, this was done without a notebook. The thing is that I like this song very much and remember the words by heart. The wordplay there is indeed something truly intriguing. Nobody really understands immediately what exactly this song is about.
Я в бору, воду беру, болотюшка сохне. Никто сразу с первого раза не понимает, о чем поется.
Bolotyushko Sochnie. The boy is drying, most likely about the drainage of bogs and swampy soil.
Oh, but not quite. There is a completely different meaning in this song. My tweeter will dryly leave my collar actually means the appeal of a young man to a lady. The mud puddle will dry, so please come to me. It does dry up, and the tweeter is his dearly beloved.
The mother came out and began to curse. What is that?
Не буду зятем звать.
I'm not going to call him my son-in-law. She says, Mom, take the water I brought. Call him your son-in-law because I loved him. How was it earlier? They came and said, this is your husband and this is your wife. Hello. Therefore, at the wedding, all were very unhappy just as usual. Because people could see their second half for the first time in their life, and they had to spend their whole lives with those people. Sometimes they had no desire. It wasn't always the way it was meant to be or the way you wanted it to be. And very often there was a person who you really wanted. Well, I don't know that.
So it was love versus socio-economic reasons. That was more or less the way it all worked.
And it turns out that we were playing something by ear, and then there was a song, and it was a sad song. What is good is that Yulia was exhausted, and she seemed exhausted when she sang in a semi-hoarse voice, which is exactly what we needed to convey the aura of this particular song. She didn't have to try hard at all, because she was exhausted as it was.
Yes, let them go home.
And that's why we were trying to achieve precisely that feeling in the recording, to make it sound as if Yulia was truly exhausted.
And now you are singing very theatrically. I mean that in a good way. It is obvious that you are getting in the mood and into a special state of mind. That is not just singing notes and reading the text. It is literally a kind of meditative technique.
Да, какая-то такая медитативная буквально техника.
It seems to me that this has its own special kind of magic, because there is a connection between the old and the new. Well, it works for me that way.
But after these impersonations, it is not difficult for you to regain the happiness of life that you once enjoyed.
Well, all songs are different, and the nature and manner of performing them changes with every song. We want to convey things that are happening right now. For this, we use a bit of impersonation. You need to get into a state of mind to be able to express and demonstrate it to people. At least, this is what I think. If your music doesn't motivate you to fully delve into it, then something is definitely wrong. Yes, it helps me to delve into it. This is why it totally gets into my state of mind, and I think it only strengthens the effect of our songs and of what we do. We can go crazy and have loads of fun with it. Then we laugh until our bellies rip, and it won't be hypocritical. We just lived it up and got our yayas out.
So somehow it turned out that there are a large number of projects, and not only in Ukraine, that use folklore as a mechanism for inspiration. They are very often transformed either into some kind of a splint, or maybe it was planned this way in advance, as some form of amusement, or perhaps they just quickly exhaust such a high level of enthusiasm that initially brought them some measure of success, and after that they simply become confused. Do you now feel that there is a threat that people might get a little fed up with this? Does a certain material base for it exist?
I
think about it all the time, and I constantly think about the need to worm about the moment when it will be difficult inside the frame that you have locked yourself in. In other words, one must do everything to avoid such frames from being built. That is, do not start off something similar by aiming at what you initially fired and first shot at. On the contrary, though, the first shot was okay, maybe the rest will miss the target. Otherwise, if you do the same thing several times over, do it right the first time, and your audience will eat you alive. It will chant encore.
Well, just the whole pop culture is usually built on the fact that, oh, there is this song that I liked. I want this one to be the same. This one, and this one.
Look for someone else.
Wow, how categorical.
Well, yes.
Well, all the same, did you have any of your own sounds?
Well, let's just say we have two limitations. First, this is the folk bass, and the second one is that we don't have an electric guitar yet. That's about it, I guess. Everything else is possible, if not forbidden.
Electronic music without electric guitar, but at least there's a bass.
The bass is, of course, an electric guitar, but this is another instrument altogether. But surprisingly, each listener finds something for him or herself. Because we did not find our own thing there, no worries, we'll make a song out of this. Today we will show you the song and play our mini album of Shebetushka. The album contains 4 totally different songs. The songs are totally different. Each one of them has its mood and a certain zest. Something was put throughout a processor, so of course every viewer and listener who listens to our song chooses their favorite one of all.
Зрителю, конечно же, кто прослушал наши песни, в душу западет какая-то вот одна, больше всего.
Пусть пара хотя бы.
Нет, ну вот какая-то...
I want all 4.
Все 4. Нет, я про то, что даже...
No, I mean that even if you ask which of these songs you like the most, the majority of the public would have absolutely different opinions. Somebody liked Vodobur, some liked only Zainka, and others liked Lulka the most.
Кому-то люлька лучше всего.
So who wants to hear what now? What is the name of the song that we're going to listen to now? Let's listen to The Little Mermaids. But I honestly don't want the result of today's show, so one says, I only like this song or that song. In my opinion, I think that what you are doing here should be appreciated by all those who see and hear it.
Вы смотрите шоу «Тюнер» на канале UATV, посвященное...
You're watching the show Tuner on UATV. My name is Vlad Fisun. Today we have the young band Yuko, a very unusual duet that has a very powerful, varied and interesting sound. And they promise that all the songs they have are very different. By the way, it really is true. And these are the groups of young people who listen to such music, and they have different tastes. By the way, what is quite amusing is that it is truly that way. For example, those categories of youth that are fond of hip-hop do not really like techno. Those who devote themselves to drum and bass don't like house music. So how do you combine this? Do you like all this stuff? Do you really want all of this? Moreover, are there any forms in modern electronic music that you are totally not comfortable with? And that you will not absolutely even go there.
Есть ли какие-то формы в современной электронной музыке, которые вас категорически не устраивают, вы туда не хотите?
The Little Mermaids. Fortunately, this matter is a thing of the past. We used to be very categorical about it, meaning that we either liked or disliked something. But sooner or later, everybody realizes that all music is awesome and will eventually find something that suits their tastes in every genre or form of music. And that is very entertaining and an absolutely natural process. We do not try to adjust to listeners' tastes. Some people may only like one of our songs and that's all. So, be my guest, the choice is ultimately yours. It happens sometimes that people come to us after our concerts and say, I do not normally listen to your music, but they listen to our electronic music, and that's what counts.
This is a very touching thing when people say that they do not listen to electronic music at all, especially at a time when all kinds of music goes through a number of electronic processes and stages. There was a conversation. A guy who doesn't usually listen to that kind of music said he liked our music. Or sometimes people approach us and say that they have found something absolutely new in our music and they liked it very much indeed. It is very pleasant and uplifting to hear that.
Недавно на концерте сидели там ребята вдалеке, и весь концерт что-то ели свои...
And recently there were two guys at the concert. They were eating some pasta during the concert and then they heard our song Masha and they liked it. They said that they have heard it on the radio before, so even these kinds of listeners enjoy our music.
Так отрывается.
Many people, I think, still have a prejudice that if we are talking about electronic music, it means everything has been recorded in advance in the studio. Perhaps even the vocals were recorded in the studio. And then some girl just comes onto the stage and dances to the beat, while a guy is just pushing a button at the right time, as if everything was conceived long before and rehearsed time and time again.
As is known, the hands just barely touch the tweakers. Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
No, in fact, everything happens in real time, and we don't have a lot of recorded playbacks. Well, it is absolutely necessary to grow 3 more hands to be able to play it all. Yes, because everything is performed in real time, everything is played live. But the songs that were composed recently and did not pass the stage of production, and those that did not have an interest in adaptation, they are the ones that are played live, of course. If there's a new track, for instance, it will be played live.
Не будет, но он есть, и вот он играется вживую пока что.
You can hear our new track at our concerts, if you come, of course.
And what happens when you perform? If there is room for maneuver, do you wink at one another and say, let's hold this piece a bit longer?
Of course, non-verbal communication. Some signs, continue, play, and just keep pushing the button. In songs that have already been made, it's more difficult. It's also possible. That is, you take some piece that you can change. Suppose there is a rave, and well, let's take it as far as possible. Let's take it a bit longer. Come on, come on. We see that people are dancing and having fun, then we have to take it longer. Or when we like the tracks and don't want to stop playing them, either before the long playback is turned on or after the long playback has ended.
Длинный плейбэк, или после того, как закончился длинный плейбэк, можно еще там что-то, наверное.
You can still get something out of it. Add something to the music, something new. It happens that you don't have time. I press the button and the wrong instrument is engaged, and Stas plays out the square with this instrument, then again.
Потом переписываем, потом, ага, смотри, мы сейчас начинаем.
Then we rewrite it. Then, hey, look, we will start now, let's go. And in general, every rehearsal is the way to cope with different undesirable situations. What do I mean by undesirable situations? It's basically the mistakes we made, but the audience will not hear them, because we have already rehearsed how we can make them go. But this is a sacrifice. The sacrifice you make to make the song more flexible. The attempt can fail sometimes, of course.
Как вам кажется?
So what is your opinion? Is your music a chamber sort of one for small venues, for perhaps designated places?
Oh, I would like to try to perform everywhere. I would love to see different audiences dancing to our beat.
Or maybe you want to go straight to the big stadiums. What do you prefer?
Except the audiences that just sits at the tables and eat. It can be a small pub or a big club or a festival or a stadium or even two stadiums.
Большой клуб, либо фестиваль, либо стадион.
You can just eat and go to a restaurant.
And if it's a food festival, they're quite popular these days.
Well, then you have to chew your food and dance, and we actually performed at a food festival. We had a lot of people who danced near the stage and just hung around, but they ate first and then they came closer. And they smoked their cigarettes while listening to the next song that we perform. Yes, exactly, that was cool. We came up with a song at a street festival. We literally improvised while performing this tune on the stage. This happened because we were short of songs. It should have been 40 minutes and we had only 25. So we made every song a little longer, and this one we wrote at night. There was a small swing and we thought we would make something out of it. And there, maybe we would sing something and play too. And there is East Asia, something interesting. And there goes the song Lulka, and it's cool for those who smoke. But it's not a propaganda. This is a usual thing, so to speak, a domestic song, folk song.
Moreover, it has a lyrical background. A girl who...
Do not look to the left, please. Here, you should come to me only. And what is it there? Well, yes, why not? And you can interpret in different ways, basically any way you like it.
Вот как тебе легло, так и принял.
Я думаю, что практически все ваше творчество обладает такими свойствами.
I think that almost all of your work has such properties. Moreover, I want to say that it was a very rapid broadcast with the group Yuko, who introduced her debut epic, and it seems to me that there is a difference in it, as well as a similarity, and I would not say that you are doing radically different music. She, all the same, has a common background, and the underlying reason, above all, probably is that it causes a pleasant sensation for people with good taste.
Это вызывает приятное ощущение для людей с хорошим вкусом.
I suggest listening to the results of this sudden insight, Vape Song, with a subtext that goes deep into the ages.
С подтекстом, уходящим вглубь времен.
Положив їй на поле Юлька ж моя пеньковая, з вечора курилась, положив її на полицю і впала, розбилась. Юлька ж моя пеньковая, ой, з вечора курилась, положив її на полицю і впала, і розбилась.
Thank you for being with us on the Tuna Show, a show about modern Ukrainian music. And we had the Yuko band with us in our studio today. See you next time.